Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. It's so great to be connecting with all of you. Oh, my gosh. I can't even begin to tell you how Lynn Brown and I were just all fired up before we even started the show today. Just completely over the top a little bit here. Why? Because Lynn, today, we're talking about, for her fabulous show, get into it, Winning at the Game of Life. We're talking about, you ready for it? The full spectrum woman. I love this. And it has been an honor for all of us here on the team with the Dr. Pat Show to literally watch the evolution of Lynn Brown. And what the heck do I mean by that? What I mean by that is each and every one of us is called to shine. How do I know that? Because if you have my kind of history and you're looking at, wow, dude, how is she even here doing this, talking with somebody like Lynn Brown in a half-intelligent way, you start to believe in miracles. That's what this is about. Lynn is an intuitive energy healer. She's a medium, but besides all of that, she is a phenomenally successful businesswoman. And so whether she's working with you on helping you understand the financial situation you're in, what the future could be like, or whether she's working with you on how to excel, how to win at the game of life, how to be abundant in the world, or you are attending her workshops, her webinars, all of the above. Lynn is about having you, me, all of us, the collective, show up and win at the game of life. But now, how is she doing it? She is presenting to you, to me, to the world, the full spectrum living approach to it. Today, the focus is on full spectrum woman. What is that? What if we were to start asking different questions? Well, let's get into it. Lynn, thank you for today. What a great topic. And I know you and me, we were fired up here before we even got on the air. Benny's like, okay, we got to start.
I know. I was like, Benny, we already started a while ago. Catch up. Yeah,
I'm never late to the party, but this time I was.
What a great topic. I'm very excited to see where this will go and feel the energy that's going to come through today.
Well, and let's just give people a snapshot of what's being developed here and what you're giving birth to. The whole idea of full spectrum living, and we started off a couple of weeks ago talking about the creation of full spectrum finance. And you're going to go through, and we're going to be talking about a number of different things to introduce the world to what full spectrum is all about. Today's topic, you picked full spectrum woman. And I wanted to get a sense from you. What is it about this that has called this topic to the forefront? And then we are going to get right into this.
Well, to be very honest, this is a topic that I didn't see or feel coming. But obviously, like we all are prepared our whole life to be in the present and to do what we're being asked to do. We're all prepared. This topic came to me and just kind of pushed me around and said, look, Lynn, it's time that you talk about this, and you're prepared to talk about this, and more importantly, it's time for each individual female to hear about this. It's changing in each of us individually. We're being called to action as a collective and as a planet as a whole. The feminine energy is being called. We are being called to step up, to stand out, to step forward into our power, into what we're divinely called here to do. It's not preparation time anymore. It's time to do it. So this topic, was brought to me, and that's why we're talking about it today. So it wasn't even really on my agenda, but as you know, my agenda takes back seat to the higher consciousness agenda.
Exactly. Well, timely is an understatement. Here we are. We're in the middle of a political election in this country. We are talking about how women are showing up right now in the world in many, many ways, not just this country, but all over the world. We're seeing it in Canada. We're seeing it in other countries. We're seeing it also, the champions that are coming out in the world, the champions of empowerment, whether it's a Pakistani woman, perhaps that has been shot several times, or a woman that decided, wait a minute, I've done so much in my lifetime to contribute in many, many ways, but here we are, right? And now, wait. I think I'm going to try to run for president again. Oh, wait, let me remove the word try. But see how this goes, Lynn? So let's talk about this feminine energy. The Dalai Lama called it. Let's give the Dalai Lama credit. What was that? 8 years ago, 6 years ago, when he nailed it. But what does this mean to you? And what does this mean to be a full spectrum woman?
Well, for me, I had this conversation with my higher self. This is when it woke me up, right? And it went like this. So me and my higher self. So, Lynn, you need to talk about the feminine energy that you've seen in your practice and in your life this last year. I'm like, okay, but Lynn, because Lynn, you need to be an example. You need to show the women, teach the women, encourage the women, push the women, pull the women to stand up and be the powerful feminine energy that they are. And I go back and I say, okay, well, what's so unique about me? Because I'm Lynn. I get up and I do what I'm doing. And my higher self goes, well, Lynn, okay, if you think about it, in the whole period of the existence of time here on the planet and all of our lifetimes, it has only been very, very, very recently, let's say 100 years, if that we as women have even been able to or allowed to start making decisions. Start making decisions for ourselves. Start making decisions for our family, start making decisions. And I'm going to keep coming back to ourselves because here's our lever. Yeah. Here's our lever. Here's our real lever. Making decisions, that's part one. And then acting on them is part two. Right? And I so with my higher self, I'm like saying, okay, that's pretty phenomenal actually, because, I'm a young adult. I've been making decisions all my life, and my higher self is like, exactly, Lynn, exactly. That is the freedom that you've been given. Those are the training wheels that you were given growing up, and that most women have not had, and we need to define that for them. We need to define that in a crystal clear word or definition or muscle. So it's about. Really, this is about the development of our decision-making muscles. And then not getting stuck there in the decision-making loop, right? But having the courage to step out beyond that and move forward.
Yeah.
So
I mean, listen, wait, you're talking about, let's just stop for a minute and remind everybody of what you came out of the gate with here, if we could. Get into it. Right, Lynn?
Right.
This is from day one. you came out of the gate with this, never doing radio before, really trusting in us and how to support this. And you're just like, we need to get some stuff done here. I mean, isn't that really the next level of what you're talking about here?
Yes, definitely.
You know, you're talking about, okay, wait a minute, as Linda would say, Pat, you sound like you're floundering a little bit. Get over it. But
Right.
You say it nicer.
Yeah. I've been told I could perhaps be a politician, but I don't want to be. I want to lead. I want to lead people. I want to lead people into
I don't know.
their greatness.
Someday maybe, Lynn.
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe. You know, I heard this example growing up numerous times in the business world and in the athletic world, and I don't quite know the story, but the story is how a group of bees were put in a jar, and the jar had the lid over it. And at first, the bees were trying to get out, but eventually they kind of calmed down and they were just staying there. But then somebody took the lid off, and the bees just stayed there. And this example was also brought back to the forefront for me because this is what I see as far as the feminine energy on the planet waking up. It's kind of like those bees were sleeping, and if we as women were sleeping in that jar, we had fallen asleep because of the struggle. We had fallen asleep because of the jar lid that was on there, and we just kind of gave up. But now the jar lid's off, and a lot of us are still sitting there, and we're not flying out. We're not where's that excitement? Where's that drive to just fly out of the jar and go see the world and maybe go create? That example, ladies, the jar lid is off. And not only is it off, the people outside who took off the jar are saying, get up. Get up and fly out. Please, we need you out here. We need you. Not only are we letting you free, oh, thank you, by the way, for freeing us. Not only are we letting you be free, we are asking you, we are saying we need your talents. We need your gifts. You were brought here on the planet for a very specific reason, and the planet needs you right now. So get up and fly out. So I think that's a powerful analogy.
Yeah. I think we're going to talk about the full spectrum here. And as a matter of fact, I think we should, just skip this break because there's so much to talk about. I got to tell you, I'm like a kid at heart in a lot of ways. And I grew up with the MTV. Well, I was like actually way grown up when MTV happened. But, I'm saying I grew up again with MTV. It was a whole new world. And I watched the VMA Awards and I watched Beyonce. Benny probably gets this. When Beyonce finished her performance, I literally had tears coming down my face. Now, why would that be, Lynn? Because let's talk about what's happening here and how people like a Beyonce are giving us, as women, permission to be our authentic selves. Yeah. I mean, I never thought in a million years of my lifetime that I would watch a performance, and I really hate even calling it this, by a pop artist who has now literally transformed the arena of music, and watch a performance and listen to the poetry of her words and just cry. What would you say, Lynn? And this should not be a surprise to you either, because here you are creating full spectrum woman. What is it from you and your personal history that has us all relating to this new powerful feminine energy?
Wow, it's like, it's just the power. Man, it's the power. It's like we're unleashing, and I'm going to get energetic for a second. As an intuitive, we're reaching into and unleashing and expanding our third chakra. That's our power chakra, and we need it because that's what moves us forward. I love that these women, and especially Beyonce, are stepping forward. What I like about this is it's a balance, right? So that's really what we're saying here, because this conversation could apply to men also. Right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is not
Well,
about
we're seeing
just
it
women.
in men.
Right. So it's
We're
a
seeing it in
balance.
men, too.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm really asking for is to call forth the balance within our feminine and male energies in the females, in the women. So Beyonce is coming out as a very beautiful, feminine, and then here we go, powerful, educated, full of wisdom, can speak words of power and of clarity and movement, right? So that's the wisdom. That's what we're being called to do. That's what I think is powerful. It's almost like what I see when a woman goes out there and plays football, or a woman goes out there and does something that's atypical of a woman or that's in a man's world, because really you're just calling forth your whole balanced presence in that situation. And that is what I'm seeing in these powerful women that are emerging. In fact, about a year ago, I was hiking with one of my friends, and we were talking about how this feminine energy is emerging. And what I noticed in my life was two things. I noticed that I was starting to connect with women a lot more. And to be honest, I didn't really growing up. I was playing sports. I just didn't.
Right.
But I was connecting with these women, and it was phenomenal. It was like my sisters, my best friends. It was the perfect match because they were balanced. And what I noticed about these women that I was connecting with and attracting is they were like tomboys as a kid. And I don't think that was because that's what I was. I think that's because they had this aspect within themselves of courage, of capability, in the feminine body to step forward and start doing things, step forward and start leading women, step forward and start changing what the expectations are of a woman in our society. So that was neat about a year ago. One movement that I started seeing, and then now it's just even stepping forward more into like what you're saying with Hillary Clinton running. With, they're starting to talk more on the business channels about the women CEOs really knocking the ball out of the park. We don't have as many women CEOs as men in the top, 500 companies, but what they're doing in those companies are hitting the ball out of the park.
Yeah. And, here we are, right? And this is what you and I are talking about today. We're talking about, what if instead of being raised by society to be a lady, you were raised to be a winner? And what I want to talk, what if society didn't expect you to follow feminine interests, but encourage you to follow your interests? Right there, let's talk about this. What does that even mean? What it requires, though, Lynn, is for you and me and each of us to show up authentically and honestly and true to ourselves. And, I mean, this entire show is not about Beyonce or not even about Hillary Clinton, but it's about what's happening in the world and the resilience, if we could take a moment as athletes, you and me, and many people listening, the resilience that is required to be a woman in the world today. And here's what I would love for us to talk about. That resilience shows up when you're looking at Beyonce sharing the VMA red carpet with Mothers of Black Lives Matter. Not a word, not a single word said, but a picture. Where are we today in the conversation now about the full spectrum woman and our ability to stand up for who we are and then to take action? I know it's a journey, Lynn. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I want to ask you this question because here you are in a relatively short period of time. And I wasn't kidding when I said the evolution of Lynn M. Brown. I really mean it. But this is really the deal. And I got to tell you, Dr. Pat, the evolution as well. But where are we from what you see in here? And how do we gain acceptance? I mean, isn't that silly? Listen to
Right.
me asking that question. Because why? Because I don't know about you growing up, that need for approval,
Oh
daunting,
man.
daunting, girl.
Oh
I'm
man.
telling you.
Do
And,
you
and by the way, today I can say daunting girl, and I don't have the entire affirmative action diversity management organization trying to track me down.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, what you just said, I have like 5 different,
Do it.
topics to go back on. But, let's
It's all
start
you.
at full spectrum.
All right.
Full spectrum to me has been an emerging of colors, obviously, full spectrum. But it's also a representation of what each of the colors represent as far as our traits and our actions in the world. And even higher than that, in a higher spiritual realm, the power within each spectrum, within each colors of the spectrum. And when it all comes down to it, I mean, there's so much power in the word full spectrum and the full spectrum life and the full spectrum living. I hope that, and I know that it's being transmuted through the radio, as a healing and as some empowerment. But here's what it really breaks down to. The full spectrum series is based on being mentally, physically, and spiritually fit, balanced, mostly balanced, right? But when you're balanced, I think you're fit. The feminine energy, the females, we have been we know how to love, right? There's three things here that we really need to balance. And I say mentally, physically, spiritually. But let's go from a different angle, too, from a more energetic perspective. We have love. We have wisdom and knowledge. And we have courage, action, will, right? Courage, action, will is all one thing. It's the movement. So we have the love. And, we have that. That's inherent. And that's what we've been expected to do. Unfortunately, that's all we've been expected to do or allowed to do, I feel. And what we're being asked now to do is to balance that with the wisdom. And here's why wisdom is important for us, women. Even in some of the countries, they're not even allowed to get educated, right? So wisdom is powerful. Wisdom is so powerful. Here's what wisdom does energetically. Wisdom dissipates fear. And when we can dissipate fear out of our system, right, because it gives us more clarity, it gives us more certainty. So that's what wisdom does. It dissipates fear. Fear stops us. But fear, when we remove the fear, I'm talking as a healer right this second, when we remove fear, that is one of the biggest healings that we can give ourselves, that we can give the female collective consciousness and the planet as a whole. And we're all moving simultaneously towards this ultimate place. So the wisdom is the dissipation of fear. So when we talk about full spectrum woman, I'm talking about, well, if you want to be a attorney, but in your family, females have always had to do something different, right? And more feminine. Well, why don't you start by getting the wisdom to do that? Take some action and reading books, educating yourself, getting a coach. I like to go straight to coaches because they've probably already done it. So to me, that's the fastest route to get to where you want to go, is follow somebody who's done it. But the wisdom is really a healing thing. Now, I want to say something about wisdom that we could get tripped up on. A lot of people get tripped up on just staying in the books. And all the wisdom in the world could mean nothing if we don't have the courage to take the next step, and that's to take action. So here's the third part of the full spectrum woman. We have the love, we have the wisdom, we're balancing it, and now we have courage. So courage is not power. Okay, so courage doesn't dissipate fear. I think a lot of people think that, like, oh, when I have courage, I'm getting rid of the fear. No, I think courage is movement in spite of the fear, movement propelled by the fear. So courage to me is when you are sitting in a car and you want to move forward, you have to push the gas pedal down. That's courage. That's the ability to move forward. So this is going to be a compliment to men, and at the same, well, no, it's just a compliment to men. So this is when I look at across the planet, I see men doing this all the time. They have no qualms with, I'm not speaking for all men, but in general, I think there is an ability within men to say, I want to go do that, and they get up and do it. I want to move across the country. I want to go get this job. And family, if you want to be with me, you better come with me, right? And so they just go. And I think sometimes on the, as us women on the other end of that, we don't understand that, or we're left with the kids, or we're left with, like, what the heck about, what about me? But there is this really neat courage and certainty and wisdom. Maybe not even the wisdom. Sometimes I don't think the wisdom's there. It's a lot of courage to move forward. And I think that we as women could use some of that and tap into that. That's what we're being called to do here, is to balance. Okay, so back to the full spectrum woman is balancing out the loving, nurturing thing that we've already perfected, and we're just overflowing with, but then taking the next step to get the wisdom, get the knowledge that we need, and just enough of it. Don't get stuck at the wisdom step. Just enough of it to disperse and dissipate the fear, dissipate the fog enough for us to take the next step, which is courage and the power. And that comes from our third chakra. And that's the full spectrum woman that's balancing these things. We all have these qualities within us, but now we need to call them forth and call them forward. And I actually have a challenge for everybody today listening, men and women, because we're all dealing with this balance. We're being called to balance these aspects. But my challenge to everybody today is just to take 2 things. Not 8 things, not 100 things. Just take 2 things that make your heart sing, that make your body tingle, right? And excitement. You don't even need to know why it does. Just listen to that guidance. Just take 2 things that you've always wanted to do, or that you're just recently wanting to do, and just do them. Don't even think about it. Just do it. Because what that's going to do is that's going to start to strengthen and train that muscle that I was talking about. The decision that you're going to do it, and then the action to do it. And it can just be little things. It could be big things. It could be little things. But it's about training the muscle, right? And as an athlete, Pat, you know that that's necessary, right? The training aspect of it, the repetition aspect of it. Because as women, remember, as women, we have not had the ability, nor have we been supported, nor have we been asked to take action, nor have we been asked to look within ourselves and what do we want. Now we're being asked. I'm asking you. If you're not being asked in your family, if you're not being asked in your work, I'm asking you as a woman to woman here. What do you want to do? What were you placed on this planet to do? It doesn't need to be big. It's all, in the aspect of society. It's what is your heart asking you to do? Okay, so now you're being asked, what do you really want to do? And then I'm asking you to do it. Please do it. This is why. 2 things. I'm asking you to do 2 things. And I would be happy to hear back from the listeners on what did they go do. Maybe somebody wanted to learn how to swim. Maybe somebody wanted to learn how to scuba dive. And now they're going to do it just because I'm asking them to. That's good enough for me. There's 2 things that really happen when you step into this place of your joy and what you have been placed here to do. One, when you do it, you put yourself in a place of vitality. You are giving yourself joy. And that's not to be taken lightly. As an energetic healer and intuitive, you are healing yourself when you do that, right? You're freeing yourself of fear. You're freeing yourself of worry. You're freeing yourself of expectations, external expectations, internal expectations. You're just being. You're being in the moment of joy, right? When you lose yourself in that place. So that is so healing. It's more healing than I think anybody can really comprehend.
It is.
So that's one aspect. And when you do that, when you're in that place, even if it's for 5 minutes, even if it's for an hour, when you're in that place, you are also opening yourself up as a conduit. Really hear this. You're opening yourself, enlarging yourself as a conduit on the planet, as a conduit of light, of higher consciousness coming down and absolutely changing the collective consciousness of this planet. When vice versa, when you're not doing that, when you're not trusting what your heart is asking you to do, when you're not stepping into that power because of the external expectations, don't like that, right? You're not only impacting your health and your vitality, you are reducing the potential of light that you can be bringing in as a conduit for your collective brothers and sisters on the planet. Not just the humans, it's the animals, it's the plants, it's the planet as a self, as a whole. So there's more reasons than just, for just your health or for just to prove to me that you can do it. There's so many reasons that I'm asking you to step into what makes you happy. Forget about what everybody else's expectations are. I know it's hard, but just try. Try 2 little things. And let's celebrate it, because I'll be able to see it. I'll be able to see the light expand across the planet.
Let's take a short break, Lynn. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what this energy means. Who are the people showing up in the world right now that are demonstrating exactly what Lynn is talking about? When we come back, we'll give you lots of information about how you can connect with Lynn directly, and also how you can tap into the full spectrum of what she's presenting to the world. Let's take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back.
Your love is bright as ever, even in the shadows. Baby, kiss me.
Hi, this is Leslie Fontaine, and my show is Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com. When we're bogged down with our emotions, the hardships that plague us in our relationships, at work, our finances, we literally can't see the higher plane where we could be operating from. Tune in to Leslie Fontaine, Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans suffering from anxiety, you probably know how powerless and out of control this emotion can make you feel. This is why it is so important to remember that anxiety is created by your mind, which means that you can learn to use your mind to uncreate it. Hello, my name is Dr. Friedman Schaub. My award-winning book, The Fear and Anxiety Solution, provides you with a step-by-step breakthrough process to understand and resolve the root causes of your anxiety and build a solid foundation of confidence and inner peace. If you're ready to take your power back, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com. That's thefearandanxietysolution.com, or call 866-903-6463. That's 866-903-MIND.
Brand consultant and coach Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're a person with a dream and unsure where to start, or a CEO of a successful company wondering what's next, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empowers you to play to your strengths and focus your competitive edge so you can show up in the world as your most powerful brand. Go to jenmorgan.com or call 206-972-5366.
Would you like to experience life-transforming adventures in personal expansion and world service? If you do, tune in to learn about magical innate abilities that you can develop and use to make your dreams come true. Joy Elaine is author of the Joy Chronicles, and she's inviting you and millions of others to join her in working with galactic masters, angels, and the Ashtar Command as they assist humanity and planet Earth to achieve their ultimate destination of ascension. For more information about this upcoming event and broadcast, visit joyelaine.com. That's joy, ELAINE.com.
What if your body and mind were the compasses to the secrets, mysteries, and magic of life? Glenna Rice, co-host of The Questionable Parent, is inviting you to access all that is possible. Glenna is a 10-year certified veteran access consciousness facilitator who offers an amazing variety of life-changing classes and workshops. Work with Glenna from anywhere with teleclasses and workshops all over the globe. To learn more and see Glenna's current schedule of events, classes, and workshops, visit glennarice.com.
Your heart is glowing, and I'm crashing into you. Baby, kiss me before they turn the lights out. Before they turn the lights out.
Oh, thank you, Benny. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Lynn Brown is in the house. Lynn, before we talk about your journey and some of the things that you've seen, you've discovered, and are going to share, what's the best way for people to find out more about you? What's the best way for people to work with you directly or attend a workshop? Tell folks how they can do that.
Sure. My website is Lynn M. Brown. That's 2 N's and M and Brown.com. And there's some great stuff emerging. That's a fairly new website that the Dr. Pat team has put up for me, and some great stuff going on there. I have ways that you can get into workshops. You can contact me personally to share some of this movement, the Get Into It movement, the Just Do It movement. A lot of the abundance stuff that I've been talking about, which is so close to presenting itself across the planet, which is, on a side note, one of the other reasons I'm asking the women, get prepared. Get prepared to step into your power, because you're going to be asked to in a way that you probably can't even fathom. My email is lynn@ruintoit.com. And I think that's the way. I have a YouTube channel. I've been really, recording 5 or 10 minute clips here and there on stuff that the consciousness of gold and silver want me to get out there, the consciousness of prosperity, the consciousness, a lot of these different things to help people prepare for this movement and this change that's happening. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel, I think you will enjoy it. And that's, you can just type in Lynn M. Brown, or you can do Full Spectrum Living, as well as my Facebook page, which is Rawness of Life at Facebook. So there's a lot of ways that you can follow, that you can tap into the knowledge I'm putting out there, the information that I'm putting out there. I'm really like leaving crumbs. It's like I'm leaving crumbs for people that are coming that want to pick up this information and really start to get into it.
Yeah. This is really the time and the age to really come forth for each of us to kind of share. And be really clear about what our journey's been like. And I wanted to ask you, I was talking about the evolution of Lynn Brown, and it has many, 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 many pieces to it. Part of it is the revolution of Lynn M. Brown. And, what are the most important aspects of this journey that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I have a really neat story from my childhood that I want to share because I think it could speak to women as a whole. I think it'll speak to parents. So parents, listen in. And So it'll speak to women, men, and parents. So when I was a child, at the age of 5, my mom and dad separated, and we're getting a divorce. And that's tough, right? So my dad sat me down, and I remember this. We were on the hillside on the dirt, and I was bawling my eyes out. And he said, Lynn, you need to decide who you want to go live with. So, 5th grade, I was 9 years old. And he said, Lynn, this decision is up to you. And at the time, I mean, can you imagine being a child in that position? Do I choose my mom or do I choose my dad, right? So I went into this decision-making process. I went into weighing out the goods and the bads and the positives and the negatives and all of these things. And what I didn't realize was my father gave me one of the best gifts he could ever give me, whether I was a boy or a girl. And that is the ability to learn how to go through a decision-making process, which I can own, I have to own, and then to move forward with it, right? So from that young age, he made me make this decision. So I came back about 3 days later, and I said, I've made my decision. And I presented it. And here's what it was. I did not decide to go with my mom. I did not decide to go with my dad. I decided to stay in my home. I decided to stay where I was grounded. I decided to stay with my animals, my dogs and cats. And I decided to stay where my basketball court was, where I lost myself in time, practicing and dreaming about how I could change the world, through sports. And that was my decision. And I got to make that decision, and I had to live with that decision. But it was so empowering. And the next example, and I didn't realize this until I had to start, I was speaking to my higher self about this topic. In my higher self, the collective conscious was just saying, Lynn, look at all these things that have prepared you for this moment that most people haven't had the chance. Most women haven't had the chance to experience and train these muscles. And the next example is when I was being recruited as a basketball player. Probably, in 8th and 9th grade, I started playing in front of college scouts. That was a lot of pressure. 9th grade, they could start sending mail, but they couldn't call you. They couldn't talk to you. So literally 4 to 5 pieces of mail would come in from a different university every day. And, from the outside perspective, a lot of people might be saying, oh, well, you were a superstar then. You had it easy. You must have enjoyed all that attention. It wasn't about that for me. I had to decide in a fair way and that would impact the rest of my life. How do I choose between all these? I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the real world. I don't know anything about universities. I don't know anything about one university leading to the other. I don't know anything about sports after college. I mean, how do I make this decision? And once again, I go to my dad and I say, because I'm starting to get overwhelmed, starting to get stressed. And he said, Lynn, I've prepared you to make good decisions, and you need to make this decision. He said, I'm out of it. Now I'm here to support you, like he always did. He was there for every game. He was there for everything, supporting me. But he was the wind from behind. I was directing the sails, right? And so that was a decision that I got to make. And now that I'm looking back on that, he actually always had me making my decisions, right? And so for parents, for women, start exercising these muscles. And you need to, right? I mean, can you imagine if we as parents pushed around our babies in a baby cart until they were 20 and then said, get up and run? You know, you have to have them start crawling. You have to give them the space to exercise the muscles. Now, I say that from parents to children because we are in a movement and we have the ability to start shifting the planet and the females that follow us. But we also need to start with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start with ourselves. So that was for parents, but don't just be a parent. Be you, and allow yourself the ability to start exercising those decision making abilities, and then living into them and really living into them with certainty and moving forward. So those are just two real personal stories that I want to share because I was guided to share those because we need to practice those. And fortunately for me, I had a father who, whether he knew what he was doing or not, he gave me the ability. You know, he gave me those muscles, and it pays off right now. Right now, it's paying off because I call my shots. I listen to people, and I consider their opinion, and I consider their perspective, but they're coming from their perspective, and I take that information and knowledge, and then I put it into myself. And I say, how do I want to move forward now? And I move forward. So,
you know, Lynn, we're talking about quite a bit today, but what we're really talking about is the question that you ask in preparing for this show. And that is, what if you were given the freedom to be and do what you have always dreamt of? You know, would you have the courage to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a question that when we get asked this question, most of us say, yeah, sure. But when the reality of the day comes, and here we are, and we're being presented with the opportunity of our lives, fear is a very powerful energy. So much so that millions of lives have been lost in war from fear. I mean, you name it. And clearly you mentioned the political campaign. My gosh, fear is running an entire platform. And we're not talking about a handful of people here that are really in the game, right?
Right.
So, you know, what is it that you would like to share with us here in these last couple of minutes to tap into, you know, to stand in the face of fear with courage of our hearts?
One thing that I've learned to do is take fear and change it into adrenaline, actually. And let it propel me. So energetically, what we can do with fear is fear kind of comes out of us and oozes out of us like a cloud, right? Just of like yucky, stinky gas all around us. But we can release that fear straight down into the ground, like literally making a conscious decision of when you experience fear, you can push it down into the ground, like releasing it into the ground, and let it propel you with, I feel it as adrenaline. Right? So when I'm faced with fear, again, this is another muscle that you just got to start. I mean, you can't go from not walking to running. You got to start exercising this. But it's a real thing. It's not just figurative. You know, energetically, I see it, and I know how powerful it is. You are right. It freezes people. But if I could give you the tool, which I am giving you the tool right now, let that fear stream down like a waterfall, not in you, but in front of you, down you into the ground, and let the energy of Mother Earth come back up and propel you to move forward with courage. That is a literal thing to get out of your space. But we don't have to resist it. We don't have to beat ourselves up for it. It's real, but allow it. Let's allow the fear to propel us and move that into courage.
I think that what we're talking about here can be enacted ASAP. So let's
Absolutely.
talk about this for a moment. You know, yes, we prepare our entire lives, right? Yes, we show up and we suit up, right? I mean, you and I talked about Beyonce. She didn't just show up at the MTV Video Awards the other night. Yeah,
No.
did a lifetime of prep. But even if you don't have a lifetime of prep, courage is inherent in all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, Lynn, you know, in this conversation about this is that, you know, we can take a look at the world and we could take a look at the things that hold us back, right? You know, we can take a look at gender equality that happens all over the world. And, you know, it's really interesting. I'm really amazed that even like, I don't even know, like how many decades later, we're still talking about pay not being equal.
Right.
But none of this is going to change unless we show up and stand up. We have to stand up for something, because if we
Yes.
don't stand up for something, you know, we're actually saying we don't stand up for anything, really, aren't we?
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know, be the example. Be the example in your household for the next generation. But it's even faster than that. I mean, I have to say, Pat, I was really, really, really prodded and asked to talk about this topic. And as you know, as I'm talking about it, I'm realizing more and more the urgency of it. We are literally being asked, begged. They need us. The planet needs us to stand up in our power, in our certainty. We don't not know anything. We don't, you know. I saw this thing on Facebook the other day, and it was this group of comedic women, and they were doing an interview, and they were role reversing, right? They were saying, "Well, I don't know. Could a man really be funny? You know, could a man really, could somebody really hear a man, or would they get distracted by just looking at them? You know, or could a whole set, like the whole evening, really be filled with men comics?" You know, and they were saying this in a way, and I was just cracking up, actually, because I didn't even realize for a couple seconds that they were actually talking about, you know, women, and this is what they were saying about them. But when you look at it that way, I mean, it's funny. But as women, I think we sometimes we play to that, because we're asking for validation from those people. We're asking for validation, like, okay, if you're setting these rules or these expectations, then I'm going to obey and be a good little girl and stay within these lines. I'm saying, create your own lines, because it's time.
You know, okay. We're going to move forward. We're going to talk about full spectrum living in a lot of different ways. And, you know, at the same time, I don't think you and I are saying that, yeah, while this sounds simple, I don't think either one of us is saying that it's been easy for us.
No way.
I know it's not been easy for me. I mean, it's a day-to-day challenge for me. Somebody asked me the other day, and they said, really kind of interesting, geez, Pat, you know, you do the show, but you pretty much stay apolitical, meaning you don't go to one side or the other. And they said, well, when are you going to make a decision? And I thought, oh my gosh, I actually have made a decision. You know, this show talks about values, and it talks about humanity, and it talks about positivity. Those are decisions. What would you say, Lynn, to folks listening here and in the last minute or so we have? How would you help folks, you know, be at the place where we honor the journey we have and who we are, but can take that next step? And thank you for today's show. Fabulous.
Yes, definitely. Well, I just want to say, go within yourself. If it was your world, which it is, what if it was your world? What rules would you remove? What expectations would you remove? And what possibilities would you want to explore and move into? And I just encourage you to start doing that and being the example of that for other women, for your friends, for your family, for the younger generations. Step into that place of joy, because you're bringing in more vitality for yourself, and you're bringing in more vitality for the planet. And finally, get ready, because you're going to have more opportunities than I can even begin to express with this prosperity and abundance, and with higher consciousness that is getting ready to flood the planet, and you are going to be called into action, and I need you to be prepared.
Awesome. Lynn, thank you so much. Folks, if you want to find out more about full spectrum living, go to Lynn, Lynnm Brown.com. All right, everybody, we're going to take a shorty. We'll be right back.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.